What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? We have the infamous Kevin King today on Legion Live. Kevin, say hello.
Hello, I'm infamous. Infamous.
Infamous is like
I thought it was famous, not infamous.
I think infamous is like the mafia version of famous, right?
Okay. All right, I'll take that.
And I know you and I have hung out like in some old mafia steakhouse in Vegas, right? So now when I think of you, I think of like the mafia hangout kind of guy. So that's not a bad thing. I mean,
hey, I've dealt with the mafia in one of my previous businesses, so I've been there where they threatened to blow my car up and everything.
That is the first time I've ever heard that from somebody. Yeah, in my other business, I had threatened to have my car blow up. That's not something you hear every day.
I had an investor back, just a quick little story back when 25 years ago, I was doing a business, and this guy, I did a bunch of PR, and I was featured on like Entertainment Tonight and Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous and all this kind of stuff. And this guy out of Michigan, I was living in Arizona at the time. This guy out of Michigan finds me and calls me up to Michigan and says he wants to invest in my little fledgling little business. And I was like, at that point, I was like, hell yeah, 10 grand was a lot of money to me when I was 23 years old or 24 years old, getting going. So he put some money in. Turns out this guy is freaking Detroit mafia, man.
That's not even the cool mafia. Like the cool mafia is like the Chicago mafia, right? Or the Vegas mafia, but Detroit mafia,
they were on the carpet business. That was their front, was the carpet business. So he ended up investing, and we didn't see eye to eye after a short period of time. So I used to sleep with baseball bats at my side. I got threatened a couple of times to have my knees taken out or be put 2 feet under, and I finally got the hell out of there. But even after I got out of there, he was showing up in Austin. I came back to Austin. He'd show up or send two goons to my new office in Austin to knock on the door, and I had a remote starter on the car just to make sure for a little while. The guy's dead now, so thank God. But
so you should be good.
I should be good.
Yeah, John said, watch it, Timbo. So don't piss off Kevin.
That's right. I know all the tricks.
So, Kevin, I know you and I have run into each other on several occasions at different conferences, different events. I was on the Illuminati Mastermind thing that you've got going on. And one thing that I realized I know about you is that I don't really know a whole lot about you. It's like every time I talk to you, I'm like, oh, something else crazy in the backstory, like people try to blow up your cars. So here's what I do understand. And all of you that are listening, I'll get to my point. You've been in e-com for a long freaking time, right?
I have.
How many years?
Oh, man. I started doing it started as direct marketing. So before there was an internet, everything was sold by mail or by someone calling an 800 number, placing an order or sending a check or money order through the mail. And I still have a business. I have a calendar business that's still half of the business. Today I have a stack of checks right here, that people actually mail into me. They in an envelope with a stamp. It's $6 figures a year, just people mailing in these little $20 and $30, $50 checks for this calendar business. But so I was in direct mail and direct marketing. And then as far as e-commerce, when the first email came around about 90 or commercial email about 93, 94, I was on that. I started my first selling online in about 95 or 96. So that's before there's even a Google. That was back in the days of Alta Vista and Yahoo and Lycos and a bunch of other different search engines where it was just easy pickings to just just SEO stuff.
Gotcha. So when did you actually get into Amazon?
Started selling because of the calendar business that I've had for 20 some odd years. We actually started wholesaling to Amazon in about 2000 through a program called Advantage. It's similar to the vendor program, but Advantage is just for books, medias, and DVD. I think it's actually a precursor to the vendor program. I'm not sure, but so I've been doing that for since 2000, and then as an FBA seller, 2015 is when I started FBA. But before that, I would use Amazon like eBay. So I'd have some stuff around, between that 15 years, besides just the seasonal stuff of selling the counters, I would jump on other people's listings. I would have an old a printer, let's say, in the office or whatever that I don't want. I'm upgrading the new printer. Sometimes instead of listing it on eBay just to get rid of it, or this is before Craigslist existed, I would throw it up on Amazon as one of those have one to sell yours here, and I just sell it as used. And so I built up an account and a history there with Amazon. Doing that for a while. And so I have one of those old grandfathered accounts that I get my money every day. I can go in and hit a button. I don't have to wait
Nice.
2 weeks. So I just literally every 24 hours, and it's a 24-hour clock. It's like if I do it at 3 o'clock today, I have to wait till 3:01 tomorrow. So and I can just hit the button and take it. So that really helps on the cash flow when you're growing a business. I don't have to use any of those other services.
Nice. And back then, that was before Amazon sold everything. It was just books and media, right?
Yeah, in the beginning, it was just books and media primarily. And I remember when they did a deal with like Toys R Us or something. They had a little toy section, and that was a big deal. It was a little banner up at the top, buy toys, or Toys R Us, or they partnered with a couple other people. But yeah, that was back a long time ago.
Do you remember what year that was? I know I've read Jeff Bezos's biography, but I can't remember when they started bringing on other products. But basically, you got grandfathered in just because you happen to be selling a media product, which are those calendars, right? If it wasn't for it being calendars, then
I guess. There's two separate accounts. You had the Advantage account, and then I had a separate account. I guess I had a little seller account. I wasn't paying the $40 a month back then, but I had the basic. You pay 50 cents or whatever it is for every item that you sell. So I had one of those. Had one of those accounts, and for whatever reason, I got grandfathered in. And about 2 years ago, Amazon started. It was an old platform technically, and Amazon was forcing everybody to migrate to the new Seller Central platform. And the first people that did it lost their ability to take their daily withdrawals. And I also wasn't having to pay for any fees for restocking or returns. So all custom returns, all restocking, no fees. So I was really hesitant to do that migration. They finally fixed the problem, so I didn't lose the 24-hour ability to withdraw, and then so I migrated to the new platform.
Wow, crazy. So the other thing I know about you is you've got your hands into some cutting edge stuff. I know I usually see you hanging out with Manny and the Helium 10 guys because you're partnered with him on, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Illuminati Mastermind and the Freedom Ticket FBA selling course, correct?
That's correct.
All right. So my experience going through, the past few years of this is that guys like you have a unique perspective, kind of like I do, because you're a seller, but you're also a service provider. So you get kind of this broad spectrum view of like what's going on, a sampling of a lot of different techniques and tactics and practices that people are using. So you're seeing what do and don't work. But the other thing is you probably get a little bit of insight on like what's to come, right? So I want to get to that, but going back, and that'll be kind of towards the end, but what I want to go back to first is, you're like an old soul. You're like 190 years old in Amazon years, right? Kind of like dog years, because nobody's been around as long as, in e-commerce as long as you. So if you could like hit the highlights of the big game changers in the e-commerce industry, even before Amazon, like what do you think the 3 or 4 things that happened? Like if you drew out a timeline and were like, this changed the game and this changed the game from 20 years ago to now, what would you say those are?
The biggest number one would be Google because they changed the whole search engine landscape. Back when it was Lycos and Yahoo and those guys, Yahoo started out as an index. I mean, instead of typing in a search term and it just spitting out a million results, you actually had to submit to them and get put into like this hierarchy, this organizational chart and stuff back in the day. And it was a pain in the ass. And then Google, Lycos and AltaVista and some of those kind of changed that a little bit, but it was still not so good. But Google changed the whole parameter where you can actually find people. And then the next one would probably be, Google's ad platform, which actually started out under a different name called GoTo. There was the very first one was called GoTo, GOTO.com. Okay. And you could bid for like a penny. I mean, I remember doing bids for keywords for 1-2 cents. And, they finally raised it to a 2-cent minimum. But it was crazy what you could do. And Google ended up buying that, I believe. Or I think it was Google that ended up buying that and incorporated it into what's now everybody knows as the Google Ads, or what was AdSense. So that was a big game changer. As video evolved and as the speeds evolved, I mean, in the early days, you're on dial-up modems, or if you had one of these ISBNs or whatever, that changed it. I remember the cost initially, I used to pay about $6,000 a month in hosting fees for a T1 line, which is nothing. Yeah. In today's terminology, everybody in their house has a better than a T1 line, but I was paying $6,000 a month for 3 servers for hosting. And now you can do, that might cost you on Bluehost $6 a month for the equivalent of that. It was crazy. So the technology changes where everything's gotten faster. It's made it easier. And then people are more comfortable. As people got more comfortable to start putting their credit cards online. And then the biggest game changer is probably Amazon's FBA program, where all these smaller e-com. I mean, it started off as a shopping deal where they had like Amazon Shops or something like that. But when they changed that to the FBA model, and created the Prime and the whole fulfillment, that was probably the biggest game changer in e-commerce to date.
Got it. So, well, I'm echoing. Do you hear Nick now?
No.
That's weird. What do you think about other sales or other search platforms? Like you're talking about Google. I'll tell you, internally in the office, we've got a couple resident computer nerds. If you're listening, I mean that with the most affection possible. But they're having some success on these lesser known search engine running ads like Bing. And I suspect that it's because nobody else is bidding on Bing because everybody forgets it's out there, but there's just enough old folks that buy a laptop from Walmart and it's Microsoft search engine. So it's built in, so there's just, a small group of people, but it's like wide open. Do you see there being any sort of opportunity listing off of Amazon or advertising off of Amazon and getting away from Google? So just like other standard search engines, do you see anything new coming up, or you think Google's pretty much got it locked down?
No, I think Facebook's going to give them Facebook and Instagram, once they fully integrate e-commerce. And the patent just expired on Amazon's one-click. And so as Facebook and Instagram, I think are going to be stepping into that, where you can actually create shops and stuff on some of the social media platforms. I think that's going to poses the biggest risk to someone like Amazon. Still have the fulfillment problem on the backside. But I think that's going to be something that's going to do well. But like these off platforms, it depends on your market. Like you said, Bing is pre-installed on grandma's computer, and that's just what they use. And it depends on what you're selling. If you're selling stuff to that market, that can be a great place to go. But if you're selling stuff to millennials, it's probably not going to be as effective for you. But people think that everything is the internet, and it's not. These checks right here that just came in the mail today, people still buy the old-fashioned way. There's still people out there that want to call an 800 number. There's still people that send checks. There's still people that use other search engines. I have people that mail me checks in the mail, and they say, I can't go to your website. I don't have the internet. There's people that don't have it, and they still have money to spend. And so you can't forget about those. And the same thing goes for retail. Everybody says that, Amazon's killing retail, and I don't think there's anything further from the truth. I think retail is always going to be strong. Is the percentage of sales changing? Yeah, it is. It's, what is it, 10, 11% now is e-commerce, and 9% is still retail. And that may get to 20/80 or something like that over the next few years. But retail is not dead. It's the ones that are going out of business. The Toys R Us and the Radio Shacks and all those guys are the ones that haven't adapted. The ones that have adapted, you look at Best Buy, they've adapted. They became a showroom for Amazon for a while. They're like, screw this shit. We can't do this. They downsized their stores. They changed their business model. They make sure all the products in there have a different UPC, so you can't just go and scan it and find it immediately on Amazon. And they're doing okay. And then look at Amazon. They're getting into retail. I just saw that they're going to try to open 3,000 stores besides the Whole Food stuff in the next 4 to 5 years. They have the Amazon Go's now in like 3 or 4 places besides Seattle, San Francisco, a couple others. Those are pretty cool. I've been to the one in Seattle. And then they're opening, what's it called? The 4-star. They're doing a test in New York with the 4-star, which is everything in the store. It's a physical store, and everything in there is rated 4 stars or above on Amazon. It's one of the better sellers. So it's not dead.
One thing I've noticed as I started doing more international business is I kind of got over, and I know this sounds unpatriotic. Y'all hear me out. I know that on the surface it sounds bad. It's not the case. But I had this like American elitism, right? This U.S. elitism that we were always like cutting edge everything, right? And I'm still a red blood American, don't get me wrong. But dude, when I go to China, they are whipping our tails in technology, absolutely destroying us. And you're talking about those Amazon Go stores. There's a big news article. They've opened up their 4th one. Dude, every gas station and every kiosk in China, like in every public place, has that same thing. So what I've started doing is looking at like the technology that other countries are using that may be ahead of us, unfortunately, like China, and thinking, hey, that'll adapt to us. I do completely agree with you that there's absolutely still a place for retail, massive place for retail. One, because people like to put their hands on stuff. People get bored. People want to, have an experience, and going to the store is just better than Amazon. But also Amazon, its whole premise was built on like cheap, right? So there's a lot of things that people will pay more for in a retail store. So we've got some really high end products that now we're looking at buying, or hiring sales reps to go out to boutique stores and sell these $150 or $175 items that on Amazon we're selling them for $100. We can get higher price in retail. So that's interesting. But the other thing you're talking about, like Toys R Us didn't adapt. I keep thinking about grocery stores. Think about how fast grocery stores are adapting, because there will always be a place for a physical grocery store, right? We can ship refrigerated goods, and Amazon Go has some one-day shipping, but that's only is it Amazon Go, I think, that does the 1 hour shipping?
Amazon Fresh,
yeah. But that's only in a few cities. So think about all over the country where they can't do that. But I've been massively impressed with Walmart, Kroger. Ooh, squeaky. Kroger. There's a couple more that do the online purchasing with a in-car pickup. Have you used that service?
Yeah, we have that here in Austin. The big store down here is H-E-B, and they have what's called curbside pickup, and they've developed it out in quite a few of the stores where you just use an app or go online and you just drive. It's like going through a drive-through at McDonald's and you pick up your bag of stuff, or they'll deliver it to you for like $5.
So that's like a weird mesh between online, because my wife will literally be in her jammies in bed at 10 o'clock at night doing the grocery shopping. And the next morning I just swing by, call the phone number, and pick it up. So I think that, to your point, the people that are adjusting have a massive future in retail. And I think that as online sellers, I hate to identify as an Amazon seller. And I think you'll agree with this, because we don't want to be an Amazon seller. We want to be a product seller that uses different platforms like Amazon. But I think that as people are building out brands and they're building out catalogs and they're building out real sustainable businesses with, clumps of products, like I said, catalog, that I really think retail or even very high-end boutique internet is, or websites is an option. What do you think about high-end boutique websites? People actually pay $300 for your item on a website where you might even have the same product on Amazon for a lot less, but they're going to your website.
I mean, it's already out there. Look at Warby Parker. Look at a Touch of Modern, which is a sharper image for aimed at guys. There are people, and the same thing of Amazon. Maybe like you said, Amazon is built on price, but there's a lot of people that will spend money on Amazon too. They will pay a premium. It's just harder for you to get positioning on Amazon versus if you have your own website. But I do think there's a market for a high-end boutique type of stuff. And like you said about China, a lot of people over in the States, they think of China as this backwoods factory, third world country, and there couldn't be anything further from the truth. I mean, out in the rural areas of China, it can get pretty bad. But in the big cities, most of their big cities are more modern than ours. And the technology there, with like you said, with WeChat, hardly anybody pays cash for anything over there. I mean, everything is RMB.
And I love the Alipay. When you go to a restaurant and there's a QR code on the table, you order your food, you scan it, the money's you just walk out. That's so amazing. I really see that coming. Yeah, I take a lot of people to China on these sourcing trips, and I try to describe China going into it as, I used to think it was a second world country, and it's not. But it's still the kind of place where in downtown Shanghai, you can pull up to a red light and there'll be $1.5 million McLaren parked next to a rickshaw.
Yeah.
It's such a wide range. This last group I was with a couple months ago, we were going to, you've been to Shanghai, I'm sure, right?
Oh yeah.
And the Hongqiao train station, the bullet train station there in Shanghai, this massively high tech, the biggest building I've ever been in, just amazing. But out front, there are farmers digging by hand little patches of rice paddies out there. So in the background, you've got this marvel of engineering and technology, and they're still planting rice by hand. It's unbelievable. The contrast there.
It is. I mean, India is the same way. China is a little more advanced than India, but India is the same way. India is one of the China is a huge market now, and it's overcome the U.S. And that's, as far as the future, I think there's major opportunity for Americans to sell in China. As soon as someone figures out a course like ASM or something on teaching Americans how to easily go into China and sell American-made goods, we flip this on them. Instead of buying Chinese goods and bring them to the U.S., there's a huge appetite for American-made or Western-made goods in China. And as an American company bringing that stuff over, I think there's serious opportunity there. It's just the language barriers are a little bit of an issue. There's some other importing things, but the Chinese don't trust the big brands. I mean, you don't know when you walk down the street in China if this Gucci store is really a Gucci store. It looks like a Gucci store. It looks like an official Gucci store. You walk in, you wouldn't know the difference from a mall in the U.S., but the Chinese don't trust it. They're like, this could be fake. But and they'll buy it if they know it's authentic and from the U.S. and they'll pay a premium. And so there's major opportunity there. And then India is the next big frontier. India is bigger than China. It's got middle class that's 300-400 million strong already. You have the same dichotomies like you were just talking about the rickshaw next to the $150,000 car in India. It's just the distribution system and the delivery system for e-commerce is not up to speed there. And once that gets up to speed, you're going to see India probably displace the United States as number 2. U.S. is going to go to number 3 in e-commerce, and Europe.
Yeah, I keep hearing that the middle class in India is just exploding. And man, there's so many people over there, just the population size. I mean, they could have a lot lower percentage of middle class, able to have disposable income residents and still quintuple our economy or our at least demographic that matches that just because we're so much smaller in population. I don't know if you've imported or if you've sourced anything from India. I've attempted it a little bit. And what I found out to be true is exactly what you just said is the logistics is tough. So like I've even got some contacts in India that want to start importing or I've talked to them the past year or so about importing stuff from the US, and just the logistics system is so jacked up. We couldn't risk it. It was going to be really, really difficult, more harm than it was, or more risk than it was worth, so to speak. But I do agree that they're getting their act together logistically and with their e-com platforms. Someone told me once that one problem is like shipping, because there's not a national postal service, and the shipping system frequently involves like paying with cash when you get your goods.
Yeah, there's a heavy COD element there because a lot of people have credit cards, and that's also like you said, the address system is bad. A lot of times it's the address, you enter on Amazon is right at the quickie mark. Go up to the 3rd staircase. It's the 4th door on the right. That's the address. And so you have a huge amount of returns because just stuff can't be delivered or someone's not home to pay cash. So there's some problems,
or people look at it and they open the box and they're like, oh, I don't want this. And they give it back to the courier.
Yeah.
That's bad news. You said something about the fake stores in China. I heard recently about a situation where a counterfeit iPhone factory was shut down in China, a huge one. And they got shut down and raided. And even the employees thought they were an authentic Apple factory. Even the employees were getting paychecks that, looked legitimate, and they were selling these things. And what's really strange is, when I initially started Hickory Flats, we had, a business partner in China, and Ron. A lot of you that have been to China, Ron. When I go to China, I love going to the underground market in Shanghai and buying like all the fake designer purses. Try to go over there and I pay $25 for like a, Louis Vuitton or Michael Kors purse or whatever. And I'm my wife's hero because she's like got 12 fake purses she can give away to her friends or whatever. But when Ron would come to the US, he'd want to go to like the authentic Louis Vuitton or Michael Kors and pay retail price. So it was like we were completely swapping just because you're right. They couldn't trust it. But also, going back to what you said about importing stuff into China, the luxury import tax is ridiculous. It's like a lot of times 150%. And a lot of things that come from the US, because obviously we're not going to send stuff to China that was made in China. We're not going to get a Chinese private label toy, bring it back here, figure out how to sell it on Taobao and sell it to them. That doesn't work. But like anything, all sorts of stuff that could be made here in the US or made in other countries and imported in, man, if it gets hit with that 150% tax, not just the import tax, but also the sales tax, like it really knocks you out of the ball game.
Yeah, it does. I mean, there's great. I mean, we're talking about the sourcing. I mean, most private label people right now, China is the world's factory. And so it is, the wheels are all greased. Everything is good in China. So it makes it easier to go there, find factories. And it's a very smooth system to get it into whatever country you're bringing into. But there's major opportunity out there, especially in light of these tariffs that are happening right now. In other countries. I mean, this, you do a lot in Guatemala. There's a lot of opportunity in other countries, but it is a little bit more work. Like you just said, dealing with India and the logistics and stuff, it takes a little bit more work, but it can give you a big competitive advantage if you consider sourcing in other places, and you'll get truly unique things, and you're not going to have these problems with the counterfeiters and the hijackers that can just walk down the street and beat you on price.
I call that a barrier to entry. Yeah. I mean, it might be more difficult, but if less people can jump in and do it, that gives me a little bit of protection, which is, massive. And that obviously raises the value of your business unit as a whole, because, an investor wouldn't want to buy your brand if anybody can knock it off. But if you have that unique barrier to entry and that unique value proposition, that really jacks things up for you as far as value.
Yep.
So let's go back to your list, things that are coming up in the future. I would summarize a lot of what you said with technical automation, right? So like the retail stores that you can just buy from, the online stores with retail pickup. What else is on that list? Things that you see coming up in the e-com space.
Well, in the e-com space, I mean, some of the other big changes I think you're going to see more instant delivery. More the 1 day Prime or the 2 hour Prime. I think that's going to expand. People are wanting stuff quicker and quicker and quicker. The people that aren't selling on Amazon, you're almost forced to offer free shipping or 2 day shipping now just to compete.
Yeah, you saw Walmart and Home Depot do that this Q4.
So that's a cost that they're having to bear. I mean, they can negotiate really good rates if they're big enough, but the small boutique stores, they don't get those special rates, so they don't get those big volume rates. So it's a cost they have to absorb, and that makes it a little bit harder. I think you're going to see a lot more have to pay to play, especially on Amazon. I think advertising. I just saw today their advertising revenue is expected to go to triple in the next 2 years to over $10 billion. So that I think you're going to start seeing more and more. If you're going to sell something on Amazon, whether it's a big product that makes a lot of money or something you found in Guatemala and you're selling 50 of, I think you're going to have to start paying to play. I think there's going to be a lot less of the organic and a lot more of the pay for positioning. And it's going to be a balance. It's not just you can't pay your way to the top and stay there because you're willing to outspend someone. It's going to be a combination of pay and conversion and sales. But I think you're going to see that on Amazon, and you can see that now. Amazon's taking up more and more real estate with their own brands. They've expanded from like 17 brands. Like Amazon Basics is one of them, but they have 127 as of last count, different private label brands on Amazon. A lot of them you don't even know that's a private label brand, and they're giving those prominent space and prominent positioning. So I think that's going to be a big change coming. You're going to see some of the bigger players get in as well that don't really care about ACOS, don't really care about that kind of stuff. The bigger brands coming off of Madison Avenue. So I think that's going to change the landscape, not only on Amazon, but on Walmart and some of the other platforms as well, but primarily on Amazon.
Hey, what do you think about Jet.com?
I've sold on Jet.com and it just doesn't do much for me. I do that in Walmart, and to be honest, I know I've heard a story here or there from some occasionally that someone's done well on one of those platforms, but the vast majority say it's a waste of time. You're better off expanding to Amazon Canada and adding 5 to 10% to your sales than you are jacking around with Jet and Walmart.
I feel like Jet was the worst investment that Walmart could have made. Walmart paid like $2 billion, right?
Yeah, it was crazy.
And if you walk around the streets and ask people, hey, do you know what Jet.com is? Nobody has a clue. The consumers don't even know what's out there. It's a little bit scary, really, that
they do
what Amazon's doing.
Jet did a big push in New York. They were buying, benches at bus stops and billboards all over, and they really tried to a big push into New York. But I think they backed off of that some as well. I'm not sure what's happening with them right now. But yeah, I agree with you. That was a lot of money to spend for something that I don't think is going to pan out.
Do you see any other platforms, online platforms, getting a lot bigger in the near future? We know that Facebook, they're trying to figure out a marketplace, but I know that like Pinterest is building out a sales platform, and then, or I think it's ads right now, but they're trying to build a sales platform. But like sites like Etsy, do you see any big growth in sites like that coming up in the future?
Yeah, I think so. The handmade sites are going to continue to grow. I mean, Amazon has their handmade, their competition to Etsy, but Etsy is continuing to do good. You can find some really cool stuff on Etsy. So it's more of the unique, one of a kind, not the mass produced type of stuff. But there's some cool stuff there, and I think it's going to continue to grow. Like you said, Pinterest. I think nobody's going to ever unseat Amazon. Or even come close. But there's still a lot of money to be made in these little smaller things. It's just like you said earlier about Bing. The old people going to Bing. There's still people that they want handmade, they want custom, they want something that not everybody else has. and there's a good market there, and there's good money to be made if you do it right. It doesn't have to be, everything doesn't have to be get rich and sell spatulas and weighted baby blankets and gloves. I mean, the biggest thing I think, there's never been in the history of business, I believe there's never been an opportunity like selling as a third-party seller on Amazon. I don't think that's ever existed, where someone can start with $5,000 or $10,000, and if they do it right, grow that and sell that thing for potentially millions of dollars in 3 or 4 years. There's never been anything like that. And I don't think it's going to be a while before there is something else that's that easy. But 3 years ago, it was easy. I mean, people thought that building a brand was making a logo and sticking a label on something, and that was your brand. That's not a brand. That's just a private label. And there's people making easy money. Those days are pretty much gone in the United States. But the opportunity, I think, on Amazon and e-commerce in general is better than ever right now. It's continuing to grow, but you have to treat it like a real business. It has to be a long-term play. I always say there's like 11 different ways you can skin the cat on Amazon. You can do online arbitrage, retail arbitrage, wholesale, affiliate marketing, private label. I mean, there's so many different ways you can make money off of it. I think the best one is private label, because you have a little bit more control and it has the best opportunity for return and the best way to sell. But as long as you treat it like a business and come into this looking at it as this is a long-term play, this is not a get-rich-quick scheme like you see in all the YouTube videos and all the ads for webinars or people pitching courses, that you need to keep your job for the next year or 2 years, unless you got a bunch of money saved up, and just keep invest in this business and roll it over. There's nothing better. But you can't just do Me Too products. You got to differentiate, and you got to be original.
Man, I feel like you are literally quoting out of my book, because that is exactly how I feel. And it's weird because I can say that, the whole deal, like you said about it's not a get rich quick scheme. And a lot of people teach that, but it changes so fast that it kind of like changes truths, because like you said, 3 or 4 years ago, you could put a label on any old crap from Alibaba and sell it, but it's definitely changed. But I also agree with what you said about the opportunity's never been better. And I think that's, for 2 reasons. One is we're educating ourselves as side hustlers, right? And a lot of us come from like that side hustle thing. Even you said it, keep your job for a couple of years and go. But as people understand or become better educated about, the fact that this is a real business and it is not a get rich quick scheme, people are starting to reset their business models and build something that's a little more solid, that's a little bit more asset driven, that's, got those higher barriers to entry. So I think as people are learning this, the opportunities are growing. But the other thing that's interesting is Amazon. Amazon is fighting a lot of the black hat stuff, which if you're a black hat seller, that's bad for you. But if you're trying to play by the rules and have a more traditional, product to client relationship through the Amazon platform, it's probably better for you. And when I say black hat, I don't mean malicious. I mean things that everybody was doing that they just had to stop, like the review manipulation and they've changed their algorithm some with the way things rank, So I actually think it's a good thing. It just makes it tougher for the people that aren't willing to invest the time and the energy and the focus and the knowledge to compete as well. So again, more of that barrier to entry, which I actually like.
Yes, everybody's always looking for a shortcut. I mean, people, even in the Illuminati mastermind, people want hacks. They want what's the shortcut, what's the quickest way. And I always tell people, sometimes those shortcuts might be nice or give you a little bit of an edge for a while, but they always get closed up or go away or something happens. This business is basically, all you need to do is 4 things to be successful selling e-commerce, or especially on Amazon in particular. And that's, you gotta know how to source a product. You got to find a good product and a quality product, not just some old junk, but actually a really good product, how to source. You got to know how to do your keyword research. You got to know to determine demand and take advantage of that demand. You got to know how to create a good listing, and then you got to know how to launch. And those 4 things, if you just rinse and repeat that and stick to the business fundamentals of that, don't try to game the system, play within the rules. And yeah, sometimes it's a little harder, sometimes it's a little frustrating, but 90% of the people that try selling on Amazon fail. And we just in our Illuminati mastermind yesterday, we had a guy that's talking about cash flow, and it's cash flow that kills most people. And he did some sort of study. This guy's out of Australia. His name's Arnold Shields, and he did a study of all these products and followed them for what's on page 1 for several different niches. over a 6-month period. He said after 6 months, 80% of the products that were on page 1 6 months ago have completely disappeared off of Amazon, not even available for sale anymore. So it's those are the people that are in there just trying to get rich quick, doing something to game the system, to launch, to get to page 1, and they just fall back off, and then they realize they're not making any money because they sold everything for too cheap or gave it away for too much or whatever. And the guys that those other 20% that are still there, they're just chugging along making money, and they're in it for the long haul. And so that's what you have to look at it as.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I feel like the opportunities are better, but the work has gotten harder. I guess you could kind of sum it up that way.
Yeah,
what do you think about, because there's a lot of rumor about how much the algorithm has changed and how much like launch strategies with promo codes and giveaway has changed. And there's a lot of just speculation because sometimes people just load up a really crappy product and they give away 1 million units and that doesn't stay organically and they blame it on the system. And there's other people that don't use giveaways or promo codes at all and they just get lucky. So, I know that you've got some insider information with some different softwares, tools, and techniques. Do you think that the launch strategies that were prevalent like 6, 8, 12 months ago have really changed?
Yes.
Or what's the biggest change that you see having happened in the past 6 or 8 months?
I don't know the specifics, but I do believe that Amazon has changed I think the buyer, there's some sort of rating. Some people say it's a buyer score. I don't know if it's a score, but Amazon can tell if you're using a launch service, and they can tell that these are all stay-at-home moms that have $10 of discretionary income a week that buy stuff for $1, and that's all they buy on Amazon. And then they often write reviews. They can tell that, and I think they're starting to penalize a lot of that. The two-step URLs and the brand URLs and some of those can still work a little bit. Amazon has to give you a way. They can't just shut that stuff down. There has to be a way, like you can at least try to prove yourself on the platform. But some of those, they've changed them. They now know whether it's internal traffic or external traffic. They're getting much more sophisticated on telling whether this is just straight up manipulation or not. They would rather have you spend money on advertising to build up your listing. That benefits Amazon versus this gaming the system and getting false reviews and false stuff up there. They also rather you send outside traffic because they know if you're spending money on Facebook or Google or your own list or whatever and sending outside traffic, they know that that's somebody else coming into their store. They might not buy your thing, but they're going to buy something else, and they don't give a shit whether they buy your thing or not. They just want them on the site, so they buy something. So I think they're rewarding that more. I think there are some of the URLs that still work. These to rank, but you need to do a combination of things. You can use those, but if you're just relying solely on those, I think you're making a mistake. And it may work for you, it may not. But you need to send some outside traffic. You need to spend money on PPC. And I mean, to be honest, most products make probably 90% of their sale. I've seen some of the inside data from Amazon, and in studying some of that stuff, you can see that about 90% of the sales come from 3 to 8 keywords for every product. It's not all this big, huge, long tail stuff, but you got to know what those are. And once you figure out what those are, and there's really good tools out there, like Helium 10 and some of the others that can help you pinpoint that. That's where you should put all your energy on, and then driving outside, like I said, doing the other stuff. Either with ManyChat. A lot of people they're doing ranking right now with Search, Find, Buy, where they're actually having the customers go out there, real customers, not discount seekers, but real people that are going out and buying stuff, search, finding, buying, and getting a rebate. That's one of the biggest launch things that's happening right now. I think there's going to be some crackdown on a little bit of that at some point, but it's a little bit harder. It's a little bit more of a gray area to crack down on. But that's how they're doing some of the manipulation. But these are the buyers, for the most part, if you do it right, are better buyers. They're not the discount seekers. Do you think that Amazon has a preference as to where that external traffic comes from? Like, do you think they're buddying up with Facebook, but not so much some other platform, or do you think they just don't care? I don't think they care. They're tracking 212. It's like 212. They can tell whether it's Facebook organic, Facebook. I've seen the reports, so they can actually see. On Facebook they have 4 or 5 columns. One's like Facebook paid ads. One's Facebook organic. One's Facebook groups. They can tell exactly. As a post or what, they can tell exactly where everything's coming from. They're tracking all that. As far as do they favor one or the other, I don't know. I don't have any evidence or haven't heard anybody say that, Facebook counts more than Pinterest or whatever. But I know they do appreciate and like that and can reward that.
So do you think that Amazon has a preference as to whether they would like outside traffic coming to their site or internal PPC? Because that's kind of a tough one. They want that outside traffic. Like you said, they want more people coming to their site, but they would rather them be getting paid for my PPC budget as opposed to Facebook getting paid for my PPC budget.
That's true, but even if it's if you're paying Facebook the PPC, you're spending the money versus Amazon having to spend the money. So you're spending the money over on Facebook to drive someone that hopefully might buy your product, but in the end they may not. They may buy somebody else's or remember that they need toilet paper and buy toilet paper. Amazon doesn't care. They're making money either way. I think it's a combination of the two. And what a lot of people forget too is that if you study some of these reports and look at some of the stuff, about 40 to 50% of the sales that happen on Amazon do not come off someone typing in a keyword. They don't come from someone typing in a weighted baby blanket, looking at the results and buying. 40 to 50%, so nearly half the sales on Amazon come from what's on the page. Someone might type in weighted baby blanket, they see stuff and they follow links and they follow around other things on the page. Most people look at more than they look at 3 or more listings before they actually buy something. So there's a lot of money within the Amazon ecosystem that most of these courses and sellers don't focus on. Everybody focuses on getting keyword ranking, getting to page 1 for a search term. But you might be surprised what can happen when you start targeting within the Amazon ecosystem other people's products, and you can do that now in sponsored ads. And there's some other ways to do that are very, very effective.
Have you been playing it all with the new ad program where like you can target your competitors' ASINs or categories?
Yeah, I was doing that with AMS before. I had AMS Access that's been there in AMS for a while, and they just opened that up a month or two ago in sponsored products. Yeah, I do use that. It can be very, very effective if you do it right. And
with that you can actually target brand names, right? Because you can't put a trademark name in your back end or probably even your sponsored ads. But if you target an ASIN, then you're good.
Yeah,
Did I say that correctly?
Correctly. You can target specific other people. If you're selling headphones, you can target the page that has Bose headphones, and try to get an ad on their page. You can, but you can't put the word Bose in your back end. But it's going to be powerful. You got to pick the right products. If you're just willy-nilly picking products to be on their page, you may not have good results. But if you know there's a system to actually figuring that out. It can be really good. One of them, it's a free one. One free one. It's not the best system, but it's a good one if you want to go free. Yazif.com, YASIV.com. That'll give you some pretty cool interrelation between different products and stuff, and it'll show you it's kind of like a 5 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, that's like that weird thing that connects everything, right?
Yeah, that can be a good starting point. But there's more to it. There's more in the data science part of actually analyzing what's on Amazon. That's a little bit more complicated. That can be that we teach in like the Illuminati and stuff. That's can be very effective on that. But it's again, you're going to have the money in this business is made in the sourcing, not in the selling. People always think it's made in the selling. It's not. It's made in sourcing. And so, getting your butt, one of the best things you can do, I know you lead trips over to China and to Guatemala and stuff. It's one of the best things you can do is get out of your damn chair, put your pants on, get out your underwear, and get on a train or a plane or a boat or whatever, and get over to wherever you're sourcing, whether that be China, whether it be Guatemala or Turkey or whatever the hell it is. Put your boots on the ground as soon as you can afford it, because the relationships you can build with suppliers, the pricing. I mean, I was just at the Canton Fair a month ago. And these socks that I was buying off of Alibaba is about $2.06 a pair that I was paying for these really cool, like fancy little socks. I found them at the Canton Fair, exact same thing for 57 cents. You find suppliers that other people don't find. I was going through the Canton Fair and there's a guy there, big booth of all these different products, little bags, like little gift bags and kind of things. I was like, "Oh, do you have a brochure?" He's like, "No, I don't have one." I said, "Okay. Can I check out your website to see everything?" It's like, "No, I'm not on the internet. So I'm not on Alibaba. This is it. I got six 600 products or whatever the hell it is right here. Take a look, take a picture of what you like. And this is it. And I was like, this is a gold mine because this is a cool product that will sell, but ain't no other, no other MF going to find this thing. And so unless he happens to be one of the other guys that walks around the corner, and is looking for this type of thing that's at the Canton Fair. So you find that kind of stuff. And it's critical to your long-term success to do that. You can't just, that goes back to treating this like a business, not, what's the easiest way to make $1,000 today.
Yeah. And I would even say that people need to know kind of definitions of sourcing. Because you said money's made in the sourcing. I see sourcing as two different things. I see it as procurement, which is I've identified that I want this product, go out and find it. You're sourcing this product. But also I define sourcing as like sourcing ideas, like sourcing new products, sourcing, conceptual products. Because like when we go to China with people, that's what we do is we're heavily sourcing the conceptual side, just like you did, finding products you didn't even know existed. So I hate that our vocabulary is so kind of constrained, like the term private label. What does private label mean? That can be wholesale plus all the way up to, some massive, 8-10 figure business that is all brand driven. So there's so many different pieces, but I think that, that kind of fall under that definition of private label or can fall under it. But I do think that sourcing, exactly what you said, it's actually procuring it, but also coming up with the new ideas. And I couldn't obviously agree more with the idea of getting on a plane and going somewhere, because not only do you find that cheaper price, like you just said, but you can also find products that you don't even know are out there. So many people, I'm gonna find a new product to sell today, and they sit down in their chair and they go to Amazon.com and they start running rabbit trails. And like I'm always telling people, dude, if you're finding stuff that's on Amazon, other people are already finding it. Like you may already have missed the boat. And whatever data that you're finding on there using like Jungle Scout, every other Tom, Dick, and Harry out there has seen the same data. So you may all be procuring the same product, and then 12 of you launch at the same time, and it's just a bloodbath. So yeah, absolutely get out. And it doesn't have to be international.
Creating your own products too, like you just said, I've done that I have a dog bowl that I created from scratch. I actually found someone on Upwork, had the CAD designs done. The guy was in Argentina. Cost me $400 for this guy to do this really elaborate thing. I had 3D prints made of it here in Austin. With a 3D printer. For those of you who don't know, it makes like a prototype. It's not the final material. It's cheap plastic, but gives you the shape and the idea. I did it with an Apple Watch charging dock station that has a Bluetooth speaker, had a night light, had 3 USB ports. I did that. It's $30,000 in tooling for that product that I spent. I done that, and nobody else has those products. So I look on Amazon, I see that there's a demand here. People are complaining about this. It's not always about, let me see if I can find something on Alibaba that fixes it that already exists. Sometimes it's better to actually create the product from scratch and be totally unique. And that's more of building a brand than just sticking a label on something.
Yeah, well, it's just like you said, it's building a real business and not a life hack or a get rich quick scheme.
Yep.
All right, cool. So I know we're getting close to the end of time. I hate to go more than an hour, but those of you that don't know Kevin King is involved in some really awesome stuff that could be resources for you. So Kevin, why don't you give the quick rundown on what the Illuminati Mastermind is and also Freedom Ticket?
Yeah, sure. I speak at a lot of events all over, a lot of Amazon-based events. I was at 26 of them last year. That's where Tim and I were at, a few of those together. I also run the freedomticket.com, which is a course for new people. Either you're brand new and don't know you can sell on Amazon, or maybe you've taken another course and it's missing. There's about 1,000 courses out there and YouTube videos on how to make money on Amazon. And to be honest, most of them suck. Most of them are taught by people that aren't really selling, or they tried to sell, they failed, and so they do a course. There's 5 or 6 of them that are actually pretty good, but I like to say mine is one of those 5 or 6, and it's a little bit more in depth. Even if you don't want to watch or pay money or don't have money to sign up for a course, I just recommend you go to freedomticket.com and at least watch the free webinar. It's a replay there. The second half of it, is a pitch to buy the Freedom Ticket. You can just cut it off at that point if you're not interested. But watch the first hour. The value that you'll get out of that first hour of tips and tricks will be worth your time. And then also we have the Illuminati Mastermind that I do with Manny Coates that owns Helium 10. And that's a program for people that are already selling. It's more advanced techniques and strategies on how to crush it on Amazon. So that's a monthly program. And then I sell myself. I do millions of dollars on Amazon and speak at a lot of events, and do a lot of interviews and podcasts and stuff like this.
So where am I going to see you next? I'm suspecting Funnel Hackers.
I'll be at capitalism.com in Dallas.
Yep. Capcom.
And in January. Then I'll be at, after that, I'm speaking in New York at Ed Rosenberg's event. Then I'll be at the 10X conference in Miami in early February.
That's Grant Cardone's thing, right?
Yeah, Grant Cardone's. And then I'll be at Funnel Hacking in Nashville in February. And then in March, I'm speaking at the Prosper Show in March. There's an Amazon event being put on in Vancouver. I'll probably be up there. And then at the end of the March, I'll be in Europe. I'm speaking at an Amazon event in Prague. And then I have my own private mastermind going on in Berlin around that same time as well. Have
you released dates, or are you going forward with the Illuminati Mastermind meetup thing that you did last year?
Yeah, we haven't released the dates on what. We've done 2 live events for the Illuminati. Is a monthly training. It's $397 a month, so it's not cheap, but it's for more advanced sellers. And then we do a live event. We did one 2016. What year is this? 2017. We did in Cancun, and then last year we did in Hawaii. It's about 75 sellers. It's expensive to come, but it's really high end stuff. Really great networking. Most of the people there are doing over 6 figures a month. We are going to be doing another one. We just haven't figured out exactly when that will be.
Got it. Cool. Well, Kevin, thank you so much for coming in and dropping some wisdom on us. It's good to talk to you again, and look forward to seeing you. I'm probably not going to that other stuff because I'm going to be in China and then Guatemala January and February. And of course, I got to be here at the office, but I will see you at Funnel Hackers. That's only like a 90-minute drive for me. So that'll be the first conference I've ever gone to where I didn't have to fly, which will be delightful.
That's awesome. So, that's one of the beauties about being here in Austin. We have a lot. I mean, the War Room is coming here. Perry Belcher's doing something next week on traffic. I was actually a little upset. Capcom moved from Austin to Dallas. Now it's like, damn, now I got to travel. But we get a lot of stuff coming through Austin. So
if you're going from Austin to Dallas, do you fly or do you just suck it up and drive?
No, I just drive. It's like 3.5 hours. 3.5 hours.
Oh, that's not too bad. Yeah. All right, cool. Well, thank you so much, Kevin. We're going to hop off here. If you guys want to add any comments, I know that this is a Facebook Live, but we're also putting this on YouTube. So if you're watching this on YouTube and you have any questions, just respond and we'll monitor that. And if you have a question that we can't answer, I'll reach out to Kevin and find out what he thinks the answer is, and we'll get it to you. Also, I think a Facebook Live plays for about a week. So the next week, any of you that watch this, if you want to ask a question, we can tag Kevin in it. He can jump in there and answer it. And questions, comments, all that stuff appreciated. Check out our Facebook group, thelegion.group. thelegion.group, and check out our YouTube channel. It is privatelabellegion.tv. privatelabellegion.tv. So, all right. Well, thank you, Kevin. We will see you all in the next one.
All right.